first, back to that poll. More bad news for the president. According to a new YouGov Yahoo poll, just 18% of Americans, 18%, want the president to run for president again in 2024. For more on what that means, let's welcome back former Nevada State GOP chairwoman and Newsmax contributor Amy Tarkanian, best-selling author and political analyst Mark Halperin, also with us this morning. We are also joined by Project 21 radio host and National Advisory Board member Christoper Arps. Good morning, guys. Great to have you on.
Good
Mark,
morning.
To you first. What I found most fascinating about this poll, when the same people polled were asked who should run, if not Joe Biden, Kamala Harris wasn't the front runner. Most people said someone else or I'm not sure. What do Democrats do with that as we get closer to 2024?
Well, to borrow a joke from the late John McCain, when you're at 18% on your reelect number, you're down to close relatives and paid staff.
Right, exactly.
Not a lot of people apparently want to see him run. I mean, we've seen unpopular presidents early in their first terms, and we've seen some of those go on to reelection. But we've never seen numbers quite like this, particularly within the Democratic Party. A comparable poll from the New York Times this week showed that over 90% of young people don't want Joe Biden to run again. So this is a problem because on paper, the two most likely Democratic nominees for 2024 would be Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. But if you're talking about elites, reporters, donors, activists, or you're talking about the grassroots, it doesn't seem like there's high enthusiasm for either of those two. And so when a lot of people say to me, well, why would Donald Trump run again? Wouldn't it be hard for him to win? If he's looking at running against one of those two on the Biden record, I can see why Donald Trump might think that the third time could be a charm.
Yeah, Amy, I'm telling you, though, that New York Times poll that everyone's talked about all week long, Donald Trump loses to Joe Biden, 44 to 41%. The New York Intelligencer had some reporting this weekend about who comes next after Bernie Sanders. You know, he's in his 80s now. He leads the progressive wing of the party. And they couldn't come up with a solution. It wasn't AOC. It wasn't Ilhan Omar, maybe Pete Buttigieg. But if it's not Bernie, who's been the runner-up the last two times, who is it?
That's interesting because I actually know people who are being hired for AOC at the moment. And so she's expanding her ground game and upping her PR team. So is this a sign of what's to come? I'm not so sure. I don't think so. I think this is going to be used as maybe just to continue to help with maybe her social media, her presence, maybe for in the future. Like further in the future for a possible run. But I'm actually right now in San Diego, and Gavin Newsom is one of the names that have actually popped up, which I think is hysterical because his state has completely fallen apart. I mean, it is stunning still. I love to come to California, but you're literally having to drive through homeless encampments, and the mentally unwell have increased dramatically as you're walking along the beautiful, once beautiful streets. It is devastating. So I don't see where this egotistical elitist thinks that he can even consider trying to run an entire nation, let alone his own state.
Yeah, Gavin Newsom, he might look like JFK, but if you want the other 49 states in this country to look like California, that's who you elect in 2024. Chris, I want to play that video that we just played one more time. So this is, talk about kicking a man when he's down. Joe Biden's in Israel, heading to Saudi Arabia. Gavin Newsom was at the White House yesterday. And look at this. He went around the West Wing. That's where the media is, right there. Yeah, that's where you go in, Gavin. Take a look. Look at it. It looks like the president, doesn't he? I mean, Chris, he did that on purpose, if you ask me. He went that way so the press could pick him up, and we'd play this video this morning.
He's looking to me more like Mayor Quimby than JFK, but
he still wears the Livestrong bracelet, by the way, which I want to tell Gavin Newsom is literally like 15 years ago, but he still wears it. Chris, to you.
Vintage.
I'm just wondering, did the White House, they had to have known about Gavin Newsom coming to the White House while the president was out of the country. I wonder if
he jumped the fence. No, he jumped the fence.
I wonder if they were condoning that in a sense. And I tell you, here in the Midwest, I live in Missouri. I'll tell you, one governor that's been getting a lot of talk about 2024 on the Democrat side is J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois.
Right.
He is a billionaire. He is an heir to the Hyatt hotel chain, so he'll have plenty of money to self-fund. And I think one thing that may appeal to Democratic voters for him is that he has said, because of the Roe v. Wade state, that Illinois will be an abortion sanctuary state. Come here. We want to make it a tourism type of thing almost. So I think that could put him near the top of the ranks for the Democrats.
But what about an all-California ticket? You know, we'll have Gavin Newsom running with Kamala Harris, and you can have Chasa Boudin as the new Attorney General. Wouldn't that be nice, Chris?
Yeah, sure.
I'm being a little sarcastic. You know who I do not think will be a legitimate candidate in 2024 is Massachusetts Senator, born and raised in Oklahoma, by the way, Harvard professor, is Elizabeth Warren, who this is something you maybe say to an advisor, but I don't think you say this out loud to the press. She says that she wants to eliminate all crisis pregnancy centers, not just in Massachusetts, very blue state, but across the country. Take a listen.
Those crisis pregnancy centers that are there to fool people who are looking for pregnancy termination help outnumber true abortion clinics by 3 to 1. We need to shut them down here in Massachusetts, and we need to shut them down all around the country.
Mark, disturbing sound there. When did the Democrats go from pro-choice to pro-abortion?
It's just incredible to me how little unifying rhetoric there is on this topic from both sides. But it strikes me when you hear things like that from leading Democrats, their failure to appreciate that what happened with the Supreme Court is not necessarily a majority opinion, but it's a position of tens of millions of Americans who feel strongly about it. And Democrats, from both a political point of view and a national moral point of view, I think I've made a big mistake in not expressing their understanding of the pro-life community. They don't have to agree with that position, but the failure to ever say anything to express an understanding of it, I think hurts them politically and further divides us. And I'd say the same thing about those on the right who haven't expressed sufficient, I think, appreciation for the anger and confusion that the decision has caused.
Chris, final thought, just about 10 seconds.
Yeah, Rob, here's another example of the left's tone deafness when it comes to abortion. The administration announced that illegal migrant women who are in this country who want abortions are able to get abortions. And I'm like, why would an illegal migrant woman want to get abortion when the child that she's carrying is a potential United States citizen? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, good point. Yeah. Panel, great stuff this morning. Really appreciate it. Amy Tarkanian, great to see you. Appreciate you joining us from California. Chris Arps, always a pleasure. Mark Halperin, good to see you as well. We'll do it again soon. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend.